Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is a public preview of the Dynamics 365 Finance localization for Turkey. My name is Evgeny Popov, and I will be your presenter today. I'm a product manager on the Dynamics 365 Finance team, and my main focus is around globalization of our product in general and localization expansion specifically. My co-presenter today is Dick Wenning, who is the senior engineer leading our efforts on the integration of the localization solution for Turkey. We also have Omer Orhan, who is the product owner of the localization solution for Turkey, but unfortunately, Omer is not able to join today. But you will definitely meet him if you participate in discussions in our Yama group dedicated to the localization solution for Turkey. All right. Our today's agenda is quite packed, so we will first of all have the quick overview of the globalization expansion project that we are conducting in the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance product group. Then we will dig a bit deeper into the functionality that will be available in the public preview of the localization solution for Turkey. We will talk a little bit about the initial setup that you can use to preview the functionality. There will be some considerations on the migration from the existing ISV solution for Turkey. And in the end, we will have a Q&A session. We will be able to respond to your questions. So again, so you can ask your questions throughout the session in the Q&A panel. We will try to respond them either in writing or in the pauses between slides, or in the worst case, in the end of the presentation. Our first part is the overview of the project. So first of all, let's quickly talk about the globalization of Dynamics 365 Finance. In finance, we work on features and functionalities that enable our global customers to implement the product in the countries supported by Microsoft out of the box. Currently, we provide localization support for 57 countries or regions, and we are extending this range. 13 of these countries were added recently, including Latin countries such as Chile or Colombia. We are extending this coverage, and Turkey is one of the countries for which we are also extending out-of-the-box localization support. For most of the countries or regions, we provide features and functionalities in similar areas. Our main focus is tax automation, which includes features ranging from the tax determination, applicability and calculation, to electronic invoicing, tax period close, tax reconciliation, settlement, and tax and regulatory reporting. We also provide capabilities in non-tax areas, covering many business processes supported by our products. For example, we offer country-specific BIN payment formats. Supported business documents include country-specific invoice layouts, pay slip layouts, and so on. And we also provide fixed assets localizations and country or region-specific invoice localization features such as corrective invoicing or prepayment invoicing. Additionally, we offer features in other domains such as supply chain management and commerce. Dynamics 365 Finance includes a wide range of tools and services that supports implementing, maintaining, and customizing globalization functionalities. These include engines or services such as the highly configurable tax calculation engine, which has been in the market for 3 years already, and the electronic invoicing microservice that also is in the market for more than 2 years already. And the electronic reporting framework is the foundation for our globalization tools. These tools and services are combined in the so-called Globalization Studio. So when we talk about Globalization Studio, you can understand that we mean those configurable tools and services. As the globalization product team, we maintain continuous compliance of the product. So we continuously monitor changes in laws and regulations in the supported countries. We collect regulatory alerts, and any partner and customer can submit a regulatory alert to us, notifying us about an upcoming regulatory change. We analyze this information and implement and release regulatory updates to support changes in laws and regulations. Now let's move on to the localization for Turkey. We are working on the localization coverage for Turkey which is based on the well-known localization ISV solution by rkiye Consulting that has been in the market for quite some time already. We are using this solution as the basis for localization and are collaborating with Nomads IT Services International BV to integrate the solution into our product. As part of this integration, many features or capabilities of the solution are being redesigned or changed significantly to align with the current features, capabilities, and frameworks of Dynamics 365 Finance. We are also leveraging globalization studio capabilities, such as electronic reporting and electronic invoicing. And once the solution is fully integrated and released by Microsoft, it will become part of the out-of-the-box localization coverage of finance. It will no longer be a separate solution, but it will be part of the regular finance product. So you will be able to enable the localization by just turning on a feature and use its capabilities and all features. The solution will receive continuous support from Microsoft. We will monitor regulatory changes for Turkey and provide regulatory updates to support those changes. Any issues in the Turkish localization will be addressed by Microsoft through regular support channels. So again, basically, this solution will be part of the out-of-the-box product, similar to all other localizations that are supported out of the box in finance. And on the right side of the slide, you can see the tentative scope of the solution, which is actually similar to the rkiye Consulting solution scope with some exclusions and some additions, so such as like electronic invoicing generation. We will provide the possibility to generate electronic invoices in a generic required format. Note that not all of these capabilities are included in the public preview scope, and some of the capabilities may also be excluded from the out-of-the-box localization solution when it's made generally available. So please stay tuned to this. In the version 10.0.44, we are presenting the public preview of the localization package for Turkey. This package has a limited scope, so not all of planned capabilities of the localization are included in this version. You can see what's excluded on the right side of the slide. This version is not ready for production and you shouldn't go live using it. We will provide public documentation for this version that will cover all included capabilities. We are now actually finalizing this documentation and it should be fully published within a couple of weeks. It's important to note that we do not provide regular Microsoft support for this public preview version, so you cannot register support cases for any issues or gaps or questions based on the public preview code. Instead, you can join the Yammer group, which is named Dynamics 365 Financial Localization for Turkey, where you can ask questions, report issues, provide feedback, or view feedback from other preview participants. So if you are interested in previewing the localization solution, please join the group. Please start looking at the localization functionalities. Please start providing your feedback, notifying us about issues or gaps you find. We are very much interested in this feedback. All right, a few words about the general availability of the localization for Turkey. Currently, we plan it for the version 10.045, so basically the next version, which is also known as the October 2025 release. So basically, it should be available for manual pull in September and for automatic update in October. So with this version, you will already be able to go live. The scope of the generally available version will include all what we have in the public preview, of course, and we will also hope to be able to add check and promissory notes enhancements, fixed assets enhancement, and inflation adjustments to this generally available version. We will also, of course, extend our public documentation to cover all release capabilities. In addition, we are currently working on demo data so that we'll have a Turkey-specific company in standard demo data with examples of all settings and parameters, so it will be easier for you to learn the localization to see how it should be configured and used. And we plan to provide an additional TechTalk session to cover the additional scope of the generally available version by the GA date. Okay, and I can see a question posted to our Q&A panel. The 10.0.44 will include the preview version of the localization, and 45 it will be GA. So yes, that's exactly the current plan. So the 44 release, which is available already for preview, and it will be generally available in a month. So you can start previewing the localization with a limited scope. And in 45, in the next version, we still hope we hope, of course, to make it generally available. I have to note that this is all like development plans. As usual, we target this 45 version for GA, but of course, these plans may change without prior notice due to any issues or problems with the implementation, or due to changing priorities or to market situation. So please follow our official release plans for the general availability information for the localization for Turkey. All right, with this, let's now dig into the features that we are making available for public preview. As mentioned before, the public preview scope includes six features. First of all, the localization solution for Turkey provides the capability of importing currency exchange rates from the Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey. In Turkey, all accounting and mandatory reporting must be done in Turkish lira. However, business operations, such as purchase orders and sales orders, can utilize foreign currencies. By importing exchange rates from the Central Bank of Turkey, we ensure the use of accurate exchange rates in all financial transactions. Next feature is serial numbering for invoices and packing slips. Companies that are subject to electronic invoice requirements must submit all required documents such as customer packing slips, customer invoices, return packing slips, and return invoices for purchases to tax authorities. These documents must include a 16-digit document ID, which consists of a 3-digit prefix, a 4-digit year number, and a 9-digit serial number. So all documents posted in the system for vendors or customers must contain this 16-digit document ID. Next, the currency conversion feature provides the possibility to invoice a purchase order or a free text invoice in a currency different from the initial order currency, and to manually specify the exchange rate for this currency conversion. This ensures that the total amount and tax amount on the free text invoice or the purchase invoice are aligned in Turkish lira. Next feature is the exchange difference invoicing. The standard functionality of Dynamics 365 Finance allows generating exchange differences when settling open transactions. So for example, when the exchange rate at the time of invoicing differs from the exchange rate at the time of payment. As a result, the amounts in the accounting currency may differ, even if the foreign currency amounts remain the same. In Turkey, companies must issue invoices for such exchange differences. Those invoices must reflect the equivalent amount in Turkish lira based on the foreign exchange buying rate of the Central Bank of Turkey. Next, the electronic invoicing functionality allows to generate electronic invoices for sales invoices and free text invoices in the required format that is based on the Universal Business Language Format 2.1. This is standard with modifications mandated by the Turkish Revenue Administration. This helps companies to fulfill their electronic invoicing obligations. Lastly, the localization package for Turkey includes the functionality of e-ledger. The e-ledger is a legal and technical framework that collects general ledger records in a journal book and helps to prepare mandatory books in an electronic format according to legal requirements in Turkey. These books must adhere to the specified formats and standards, guaranteeing their immutability, integrity, and source accuracy, and can be used as evidence before authorities. The framework utilizes the internationally adopted XBRL standard, which stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language, for electronic preparation. Let's now discuss each feature in more details. The exchange rate import feature is used to make sure business operations in foreign currencies are reflected in accounting in Turkish lira using accurate exchange rates. Just to set the context, the Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey announces indicative exchange rates at 3:30 p.m. on working days, and these exchange rates are applicable on the following working days. The central bank provides different exchange rate types, such as banknote buying, banknote selling, foreign buying, and foreign selling. And in Dynamics 365 Finance, we leverage the standard framework of exchange rate providers to import exchange rates from the Central Bank of Turkey. Essentially, we use the standard functionality and extensibility approach by creating a new provider named Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey. This allows everyone to configure the exchange rate provider in their environment. And in the provider configuration, you need to map exchange rate types provided by the central bank to exchange rate types in the system. You also need to specify the precision or the number of digits in exchange rates, the URL of the central bank's service from which to import the exchange rates, and you can specify that you want to import cross rates together with just exchange rates. And note that this capability is available not only in Turkey, so it's actually possible to configure this exchange rate provider in any country. So you can use exchange rates provided by the Central Bank of Turkey when posting business transactions with customers or vendors in Turkey in Turkish liras. To execute the import of exchange rates from the Central Bank of Turkey, you just need to run the standard import currency exchange rates operations. You need to specify, of course, the exchange rate type to be imported. You also specify the date as of which you want to import the exchange rates. And as a result, as you can see on the right side of the slide, the exchange rates are imported. Also, if you enable the cross-rate import, cross rates are imported as well for the same exchange rate type. And I can see the question regarding VAT reporting posted in our Q&A session. Is Microsoft planning anything for VAT reporting, VAT declaration, deductible VAT register? So for now, we don't have plans for such features, but we may consider it in future. All right, our next feature is serial numbering of packing slips and invoices. The serial numbering functionality helps ensure legal compliance and accurate tracking of documents. By using specific number sequences, businesses can maintain organized records for sales packing slips, purchase return receipts, sales invoices, vendor return invoices, free text invoices, as well as exchange difference invoices. So all the documents that are listed here on the slide support the serial numbering of documents. So let's consider required elements of the configuration of serial numbering. First of all, it's serial formats that define document numbers for various documents like pre-printed invoices, e-invoices, e-archives, and e-packing slips. So depending on the type selected, you can use specified serial formats. And a regular serial number format includes a serial prefix, fiscal year information, and a unique serial number from a number sequence. So you can see here that you can configure serial formats whatever you want them to look like. Next, serial prefixes. These prefixes help distinguish document types. I mean, by looking at the number of the document, you can understand its document type, and the serial prefixes also link document types to number sequence groups and serial formats. So that by defining a serial prefix, you select a serial format, and also you select number sequence group that in turn determines the number sequence to be used. On the pre-printed serial numbers page, you can configure those serial prefixes, and also you can review serial numbers that have already been assigned to posted documents or available for use on the Open tab, or invalidated or voided on the Cancel tab. After completing the configuration of serial numbering, you can use the serial prefixes in documents. So for example, in a free text invoice, a serial prefix needs to be specified to determine the number of the invoice when it's posted. If any serial prefix for invoices has been marked as default for this type of document, it will be assigned automatically, otherwise you need to select it manually. Quite the opposite, in a free text credit note, that is a free text invoice with a negative amount, you cannot specify a serial prefix, but you need to specify the invoice number that was assigned by the customer who is posting this credit note. So you don't need to select the prefix, because the number is determined by the credit note provided by the customer. Similarly, when posting a sales packing slip or a sales invoice, a serial prefix will be assigned automatically if it's marked as default. You can see here we have the serial prefix on packing slip posting page, on posting invoice page. But if it's not assigned automatically, you will need to select it manually. Finally, when posting an invoice for a purchase order with a negative quantity, which is obviously a return purchase order, or vendor invoice journal with debit amount, which is, again, a vendor return invoice actually, you need to select a serial prefix to ensure that the return invoice is numbered using the configured serial format. Before proceeding with the next feature, let me quickly check the Q&A session. The exchange rate updates will be a manual process or a batch job. Yes, of course, you can configure it as a batch job. All right. Our next feature is currency conversion in purchase order and free text invoices. The feature helps to use a manually specified fixed exchange rate if you want to invoice an order that is issued in Turkish lira in a different currency. Additionally, it ensures that tax amounts are calculated, posted, and reported in Turkish lira. The functionality works in purchase orders and free text invoices in Turkish localization, and the same capabilities are actually available in sales orders in the standard functionality. So, for example, in a free text invoice that was initially created in Turkish lira, you can update the currency field to euro and specify fixed exchange rates for accounting currency and reporting currency, so that the invoice is posted in euro, but you use like fixed exchange rates for accounting currency in reporting currency. So you can see that after saving the change, you will be advised to recalculate the line amounts, and after posting the free text invoice, the accounting and reporting currency amounts will use the specified exchange rates. Similarly, you can update the currency in a purchase order initially created in Turkish lira. You will be advised to recalculate the line amounts in this case, and the posted invoice will use the fixed exchange rates to ensure the purchase invoice amounts and the accounting and reporting currency use the same fixed exchange rates. So that's all about the currency conversion feature, and let's move on to exchange difference invoicing. As mentioned before, the purpose of the exchange difference invoicing functionality is to address the discrepancies caused by the floating exchange rate system in Turkey. This system results in different exchange rates at the time of invoicing and payment, leading to variations in the amount in Turkish lira, even if the foreign exchange amount remains the same. So, in Turkey, companies must issue invoices for these exchange differences, reflecting the equivalent amount in Turkish lira based on the foreign exchange buying rate of the central bank. The tax rate applied to the exchange difference must match the tax rate applied to the invoiced product or service. To use the exchange difference invoicing functionality, you first need to configure realized gain and loss accounts in standard currency evaluation posting profiles. You must decide whether you want to post separate exchange difference invoices per customer or vendor invoice, or if you want to group invoices by, for example, financial dimensions, tax groups, or profit and loss accounts. And you can also enable or enforce the approval process for exchange difference invoices to make sure that exchange difference invoices approved before it's posted and presented to your counterparty. You can create exchange difference invoices on the exchange difference invoicing page. When creating exchange difference invoices, you need to specify the date of the invoices. You can also modify default settings, such as grouping settings, and you can also apply filters to customer and vendor transactions to be included in the newly created exchange difference invoices. Additionally, when you process an exchange difference invoice, you need to decide on the exchange difference type so that you can create and post an exchange difference invoice immediately or postpone it until the next month, or just evaluate the customer and vendor transactions without posting exchange difference invoicing. And the exchange difference invoicing functionality also includes two printed forms that are implemented as electronic reporting configurations in Excel. You can print exchange difference invoice to send it to your customer or vendor, which includes all the information about the exchange difference transaction. Additionally, you can print an exchange difference reconciliation report that includes all exchange difference transactions for a customer or vendor in a period, so that you can use it in the reconciliation process. You can see on the right side of the slide the example of such exchange difference invoice. As I said, it's implemented as an electronic reporting configuration, so it's quite easily customizable. You can tune it to your specific needs, to your specific format. All right, let's now discuss the capabilities we have for electronic invoices. And I can see quite a few questions already related to electronic invoices. So hopefully some of these questions will be addressed in the next part of the presentation. In the current scope, we provide the capability to generate electronic invoices for customer invoices in the format mandated by the Turkish Revenue Administration. The format is based on the internationally recognized Universal Business Language format that is customized by the Turkish Revenue Administration to meet specific requirements for Turkey. It's UBL 2.1, customized for Turkey. Currently, we support generating electronic invoices for sales invoices and free text invoices only. We also plan to support generating electronic packing slips for sales packing slips. So I can see the question related to e-delivery notes. So we'll have it by the general availability date. The electronic invoice format for Turkey is implemented again based on the standard electronic reporting framework and standard configurations of invoice model and UBL sales invoice. So it supports all the beauties of the standard functionality for electronic invoices in finance. Currently, we do not support digital signing and submission of electronic invoices, so we only have the capability to generate the file, and then if you want to submit electronic invoices to your integrator or to tax authorities directly automatically, you will need to customize the product. In future versions, we may consider adding capabilities for electronic invoice signing and submission. To enable the generation of electronic invoices, you must make some simple settings. So first of all, you need to import electronic reporting formats from your Dataverse repository. It's a common step for all electronic reporting configurations. Then you will need to configure the format of electronic invoice to be used in the accounts receivable parameters. And additionally, you will need to enable electronic invoicing for each customer that you want to use electronic invoices for. So this is the standard, again, configuration for electronic invoicing in finance. It's used for all countries that we provide electronic invoicing solutions for, and it's leveraged in Turkey as well. You can generate an electronic invoice for a posted sales invoice or a free text invoice from the invoice journal page by executing the send operation. The generated XML file will be saved in a specified location and can later be submitted as needed. It's also possible to generate electronic invoices automatically during invoice posting by enabling the print option for invoice posting and configuring the electronic reporting destination for printed invoices. So basically, if you enable printing invoices upon posting and you configure properly electronic reporting destination for the electronic reporting, for electronic invoice format, it will be generated and sent to the destination automatically. Yes, and I can see a question regarding a project invoice. We will add it in the general availability scope. All right, let's move on to e-ledger. So it's the last feature in our package for public preview, but not the least. A very important feature For all companies in Turkey that meet specific conditions, they are required to submit their books in electronic format to tax authorities. And as described earlier, the ledger functionality provides a technical framework that collects general ledger records in a journal book and helps to prepare mandatory books in a generic electronic format that fulfills the legal requirements. Proper maintenance of the journal guarantees general record immutability, integrity, and source accuracy, thus making it possible to use the book as an accounting evidence before authorities. The feature that we are providing currently generates the book in the internationally adopted XBRL format. So please note that similar to electronic invoices, we use a generic format that may not be suitable for your specific integrator if you use an integrator to submit e-ledger, and it may need to be customized to comply with the requirements of the integrator. The ledger functionality allows you to map transaction properties in the system to values prescribed by the Turkish Revenue Administration. So, for example, like Turkish Revenue Administration provides a list of document types which each transaction must be mapped to, and you can map your transactions to those prescribed ledger document types by using filters based on transaction type in the system and the voucher number for the transaction. Similarly, you can configure mapping of payment methods to e-ledger methods of payment based on the voucher filter and, of course, method payment in a payment transaction. The Turkish Revenue Administration requires you to submit your books using the Turkish Uniform Chart of Accounts. And if for some reason your accounting uses a chart of accounts that is different from the Uniform Chart of Accounts, you can configure the mapping of your general ledger transactions to the accounts of the Uniform Chart of Accounts. To do this, you can create a special financial dimension that includes values for all main accounts in the Uniform Chart of Accounts, and then you can map the dimension values to main accounts and account groups in the Uniform Charts of Accounts. So this ensures that even though you are not using the Uniform Chart of Accounts as your main account in Chart of Accounts, you can present your books using the Uniform Chart of Accounts. You can also define if general ledger transactions from all posting layers need to be reported in e-ledger, or if some posting layers should be excluded when you create and generate your e-ledger book. The e-ledger functionality also provides the possibility to report your book for a single branch if you have just a single branch in your organization, or you can create multiple books per branch. Again, this is based on financial dimensions. So to do so, you need to introduce a financial dimension that will support separating general ledger transactions per branch. So you need to make sure each general ledger transaction has this dimension value specified, so that when generating an e-ledger book, transactions can be separated in different books per branch. Important to note that you create your e-ledger books based on your ledger calendar. So basically, you create a book for each ledger calendar period. The ledger period must be on hold to collect transactions in the book for that period. So first of all, you close all your period, right? You make sure all the documents are posted, all transactions are posted. Then you change the status of the ledger period to on hold, and you can start generating your e-ledger book. So when your period is on hold, you start by running a procedure to automatically assign unique journal item numbers to all transactions that must be included in your book. The journal item numbers are unique and sequential within the year, so that starting number for the book for each period is generated by adding 1 to the last number in the book for the previous period. Note that it's possible to create a book and assign journal item numbers for a period only if the previous period is permanently closed. So basically, you need to, for a period, you need to create a ledger book, you need to send it, then you need to permanently close the ledger period in order to be able to work on your ledger book for the next period. When journal item numbers are assigned, all e-ledger mappings are automatically executed, populating e-ledger transaction types, payment methods, main accounts, and so on. And you can, of course, review and to some extent adjust the resulting mappings before finalizing the e-ledger book. So, for example, you can adjust e-ledger document types in case you don't have mapping specified for it. But the limit of adjustments, so the adjustments are quite limited to make sure that it's not possible actually to manipulate the general ledger data. And after completing the review and making sure all transactions are included and properly mapped, you finalize your book by executing the send to ledger pool operation. And this operation just fixes the contents of the book and prepares them to be exported to the e-ledger file. Now, in the e-ledger pool, you can export the ledger file in the electronic format. You can also print the book in the forms of statutory ledger book or statutory general journal from e-ledger pool. It's important to highlight that both electronic and printable formats for e-ledger are implemented as electronic reporting configurations, again, which enables easy customization or extension of the base configuration according to company-specific or integrator-specific requirements. A bit more of the customization later in this presentation. The e-ledger configuration, electronic reporting configuration for e-ledger, is based on the standard audit file SIFT model, which is an international standard for the electronic exchange of accounting data and audit reporting. The model is extended for Turkey to exclude some specific Turkey-specific data elements, and the configuration also includes a proprietary model mapping. So we are not using the standard SAFT model mapping, but we have a special model mapping to map, to link the data model to the e-ledger pool structure. And finally, the three e-ledger formats include the XML, XBRL format, and two Excel formats for statutory ledger book and statutory general journal. Here you can see a screenshot of the contents of the XBRL e-ledger file for Turkey, and also printed books. So printed statutory ledger book lists main accounts of the ledger chart of account and transactions per main account, while statutory general journal groups records per journal item number.
Thank you, Evgeny. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the technical parts because we deliver standards e-ledger content, but there are many integrated companies in Turkey, and I will thank you some guidance on how to address it. Before I want to go into the details, let's talk a little bit about the data model. On the left part, you see your posted transactions, your general countries and lines. Then we have our e-ledger module on top of it. So because we use a standard framework, the first thing we did was the data mapped on the audit file SAT-FT. And on top of that, we have our output format XBRL for Turkish. So when you have your own customer formats, derived format, and it can be a CSV file or an XML file. In the next slides, I will show you some quick steps to help you get in your formats in a quick way, and that you don't have to make all kinds of complex things to. And the most complex thing is that the format itself is not so complex, but having the grouping the right way, because XML grouping for zip files, because there's a maximum limit of 200 megabytes for a file, XML splits on a different way than CSVs. And if you follow this pattern, what is applied on the XBRL, then your file splitter will always work. And there are some small steps. In generally, you have to make some additional things. You copy in generally the content what is used on the XBRL. And there we have make some logic what is reusable so that you get the right file names. And in case you have multiple files, it compressed and everything becomes in the parameters. How XBRL will work out in details, we will explain it on the MSDN pages. But for here, it's just the way how to address the format and the file name technically. When you have made this thing, the next step is then you have your data model created and you have to map the fields of the model. And if it all aligns and you have no errors, then you can do a run and you get a very nice CSV output. So that's in a nutshell how it works. The reason why we have only done the XBRL, because there are, I think, over 200 integrated companies, and Microsoft is simply not able to monitor and manage all 200 integrated companies. We're managing the XBRL format, so what legally is allowed is legally available, and that should be the base for own customer integrations. In case you start working on this one, environment, please be aware that you have to have installed the 10.0.44, and in the feature management you have to activate the feature Turkey. And when your company has the legal country Turkey active, then it becomes available. We are working on a control demo set for Turkey, but it's not finished yet. Meanwhile, in case you want to work with it, I advise you to use the France company. And don't forget to turn on the number sequence wizards and so on. And follow the steps like refresh data entities and import electronic reportings. Then you have a quite workable scenario. Of course, you can also try it with your own company data. It's up to you and your customer how you want to work on this. Yes, in the demo data, what will be available in generally is the vendors, we have customers, we have released products, we have main account structures, address setup, exchange rates, and the default features of Turkey. We will not do any posting, so it is demo company is also quite handy for pre-sales, and you can adapt it, and it will also help you on in case you have an incident later on that we can simulate it in this company. So we have common ground on investigate things that are not working as expected or work as expected, but anyhow. So we can support each other and have on the end, quicker and happy customer. That's what it's all about. Okay, now in case we're going to talk about a rollout plan, it's for partners, that it's extremely a lot of work. And you have to investigate, I think, from every customer, what Microsoft offers. Is this in line with what your customer needs? You have an ISV, can be from Gaia or from other, or you make your own environments. You have to validate, does this match what the customer had and what Microsoft offers, and do we have a gap? In case you have a gap, then you have to create your own code parts, and you also have to think about data migration and also about testing. And for partner point of view, I highly advise take a simple customer with a low risk, roll out your migration, have your new ISV and your extensions aligned, and if it works out fine, next your other customers do them in waves. Don't do them all at the same time, because then you also have, if you have an issue, then you have to repeat the fix also several times. It can be that there's a bug on Microsoft. It can be that your own ISV extension did not work out as expected. So plan it carefully. And first time right is always the best to do. In generally, at go live, you have to install some models. I highly recommend to have a dedicated different migration model that later on can be removed, so you don't have an overhead of things. We really have seen that turning on the feature will not give any conflict, because there are not overlaying table names or field names. However, in case you do postings and you turn on the feature of Microsoft and you have your own feature active, then yeah, things can double. So to have it a little bit in control, I highly advise you set the system in maintenance mode. The first reason is that the batches are turned off. Activate your feature and follow the setup. And from data migration point of view, it can be any way you like it. On the end, of course, you remove your migration model and all other things, and you turn the maintenance mode off, and you are clear to go. To give you some guidance on the data model, there are a couple of tables are maps and a couple of tables are discontinued. For the most of the time, it will work out. In case it really is an issue, then in the demo groups we have, or we can talk about it, but we validate it and it should work this way as planned. Okay, that brings us to the Q&A.
Thanks, Dick. All right, so let's me look at what is not yet responded to. So does the e-invoice functionality include communication with local authority systems? So Dick already responded to this, but yes, and we have other questions about the same, I believe. So for now and for the generally available scope, we will only support generating the electronic invoices in this generic UBL format. We will not support the communication or the submission with authorities or integrators. And basically, the biggest problem here, the biggest concern, and the most important reason why we don't do it is because in Turkey, as Dick mentioned, we have quite a lot of integrators that companies can use to submit their electronic data to authorities. And it's also possible, of course, to submit electronic invoices like directly to authorities, but this requires the system certification, which we are still considering if we are going to go with. So for now, we plan to release this like electronic invoice generation capability, right? And the submission part will require customizations. One more point that I wanted to highlight in regard to this is that we have the electronic invoicing service as part of our globalization package in finance, which is a standalone microservice that allows configuring and running electronic invoice submission per specific country or region requirements. We have quite a few countries already supported in the electronic invoicing service. We will not have Turkey out of the box in the electronic invoicing service, at least from the very beginning. But we are currently working on a so-called unified connector for the electronic invoicing service. Basically, it will be a lightweight extensibility capability in the electronic invoicing service that will allow quickly developing electronic invoicing integration with specific parties, integrators, operators, or tax authorities directly using power-ups, so that you will have the framework for the generation of invoices, for all the processing of invoices, such as digital signing, for example, or conversion into required formats. And then you will also only need to develop a last mile communication part, which basically communicating to the service of the integrator or tax authorities, sending the file and getting the response. So this is what we hope to be able to provide by the general availability date. Later on, based on the adoption of the solution, based on the feedback and all other considerations, we may also consider releasing an out-of-the-box integration with either tax authorities directly or with one or some integrators. This applies to both electronic invoices and e-ledger. So I hope this basically answers these questions for now. Let's move on. This VAT reporting question. Basically, we have a question if we are going to support VAT reporting, VAT declaration. For now, I already mentioned that we don't have such plans, but we can consider it for later. The next question: do you have a list of improvements that you have done for the Turkish localization feature compared to the functionality by the ASV solution? No, I don't think that we have such kind of a list. We just have the public documentation for the solution. It's available externally, or will be actually available externally, so that you can review and basically understand all the functionality, all the capabilities, and compare these to the capabilities that you have in your system. And also the question is where we can get MSDN documentation. So it's the well-known Learn portal, Microsoft's Learn portal, right? So you can just open Learn, and there is a section dedicated to localizations in Dynamics 365 Finance, and in which there is a folder for Turkey. We have a couple of articles already published in this folder, and as I said, in the coming couple of weeks, we hope to publish articles for all features that we have in the public preview scope. Does serial numbering for packing slips and invoices include commerce transactions as well? No. For now, no. We don't support commerce, if I understand the question correctly. So we don't support transactions that come from retail stores. Meaning that like you need to manually specify a serial prefix for a posted invoice, or it can be assigned automatically based on the transaction type. So if you configure this default serial prefix, so you basically have your retail invoices numbered, right? But it's not separate from sales invoices, from wholesale invoices, and so on. So I would say that if you want to use serial numbering for commerce transactions, you may need to consider customizing the out-of-the-box functionality. All right, the next question. I couldn't see the e-delivery note title in the scope titles. What's the plan for e-delivery note? And I touched it during the presentation, and Dick also responded to it. So yes, we have e-packing slip in the scope for the general availability. So stay tuned. We hope it will make it to the general available scope. There is a difference of e-invoice and e-archive invoice. Depends on the taxpayer situation. How do we get this update on our customers? So, well, for now, it's a bit of a vague situation. So we don't really support e-archive invoices, right? We will consider adding this either by general availability or later. But we are aware of the difference, and we are looking at it. Okay, next question is regarding invoices for project invoices, and yes, Dick already responded to it. It's in scope for 10.0.45, or basically for general availability. All right, so the next question is, can you send the document about scope? We can share it with our customers. Yes, and the simple answer is that you have we will have this public documentation on the Learn portal. We also have a release plan for Turkey published that includes basically the same tentative scope that I shared during the presentation. And of course, as mentioned before, this session is recorded, or is being recorded, and the recording will be available shortly. And it will be available publicly, so you will be able to review it for all the information we presented, or you will be able to share it with your customers. Okay, The next question is related to serial numbering. Will both document ID, 16-digit invoice number, and the standard D365 invoice be kept in the system, or will document ID replace and be the only invoice ID? And Dick already responded to this. But again, so we, for now, as of now, in the current state, we extended the invoice numbering functionality, and it's basically replaced by the Turkish functionality when you enable the Turkish localization in your environment and in your for your legal entity. We already received some feedback regarding this from some partners who had early access to the solution, and we will consider actually adding the possibility to switch between the standard invoice numbering capability and the Turkey-specific serial invoice numbering. We cannot commit to delivering it, right? But we are considering this possibility, and it may be part of the general availability scope, or may become available a bit later. Okay, there is one more question on the MSDN documentation. And yes, so again, as mentioned, not all the documentation is yet published, but we hope it to be published in the coming couple of weeks, at least for the public preview scope. And by the general availability date, we should have public documentation extended to cover the full scope of the localization solution. And of course, I want to mention that I want to encourage you to participate in the public preview discussions in the Yammer group. If you find any gap, if you find any uncertainty or anything else in the public documentation for the solution, please let us know through the Yammer group, or you can actually also leave feedback for documentation directly on the Learn portal. It's a standard feature. You can leave feedback for any article on the Learn portal. Just please leave your feedback, and we will try to make sure all the feedback is considered and fulfilled. We want our documentation to be as full and is as clear as possible. So please provide your feedback on the documentation and help us make it the most clear and the most actionable. All right, the next question is, will it be possible to send vendor return invoices created in Dynamics 365 via electronic invoicing? Yes, it should be possible. We have it in the general availability scope. Just wanted to emphasize again, these are all development plans. And while we do have it in scope, we want to be available by general availability in the release 45. This can change. So we will be announcing our official scope, official release plans later on in our on our Learn portal in the release plans section. And one more question, it's related to, again, to submission of electronic invoices. How are we planning to implement submission of electronic invoices directed to government endpoints on through third-party provider? And I already addressed this question, I believe. Just to repeat, so we do not plan to implement direct integration to government endpoints because it requires additional certification of us as a provider, actually, which we do not usually do, right? So even if we consider implementing some examples of invoice submission integration, it will be through some third-party providers, but most likely we will advise everyone to use our like universal connection capabilities that we are going to release also shortly to develop integrations with selected third-party providers.
There's one question raised about the settlement.
Can you please read the question?
When the payment of an invoice is settled, the exchange rate difference is automatically generated in Turkish exchange rate, invoices, blah, blah. as far I'm aware, you have you even there you can have fixed exchange rates, and it's exactly working the same way as in the Kaya solution. So if it was in the Kaya solution working that way, then it is also working this way. Because I don't know it in detail, but I know that part of code has not changed.
Yeah. So my understanding is that when we create the exchange difference invoice, when the exchange difference is posted and we create a exchange difference invoice, this also covers the VAT part in Turkish lira, right? So that's it not only includes the exchange rate difference amount, but also the VAT part of it. But again, let's for a better response to this, probably we could cover it in the YAML group in more details. All right. One more question is, do you have a solution for e-archive outgoing invoices? I believe I already addressed it. So for now, we do not have a solution for e-archive, but we will consider adding it either in general availability or later. And the question, again, thank you very much for sharing this information, but some things are not clear. Our customers have learned that this localization will be included in the scope, and we cannot even share a document with them that includes the scope. As far as I understand, the document will be published on the learning platform, but we do not know when it will be published. Please be a little more clear and please share this kind of information with us before our customers. So again, I think I already addressed some of these concerns. First of all, we have a release plan published that includes the high-level scope, the same that I presented today. Also, we are finalizing the public documentation that will describe the capabilities available in the public preview scope in more details. We hope it will take no more than 2 weeks to complete publishing of this documentation. And one more final comment regarding this session and the recording of it. I don't know the exact time required to publish the recording, but I believe it should be around 1 week. So hopefully in a week or so, the recording of this session and actually the presentation itself, the PowerPoint, will be published to the community page, and the recording will also be available on YouTube. So you will be able to review it and you will be able to share it with your customers. So I cannot commit to exact date of publishing, but I hope it takes around 1 week or less. One more question. There are many modifications in e-invoicing process comparing with other functions. How do you plan to manage those kind of changes? Well, if I understand correctly the question, you mean that both the process and the formats of electronic invoice are changed quite frequently by the government. And this is exactly what we address with our continuous compliance process. As mentioned in the presentation, we not only implement and release localization features, the features that are meant to help to comply with specific legal requirements, but we also continuously monitor regulatory changes. We try to capture the information about upcoming changes and requirements and address them by releasing regulatory updates in advance. So this is what we do always for all localization solutions that are available out of the box in finance. And this is what we are going to do for Turkey as well. So Turkey here will not be different from any other country supported out of the box. So in this case, if, for example, an electronic format is changed a bit, some customization added by the revenue administration, we will address it by releasing an updated electronic invoice format, and so on. It's the same for any localization functionality, any localization capability available in the solution. Again, I hope this addresses your concern. The next question is, do you have a plan for downloading incoming vendor or customer invoices to the ERP system, such as downloading the user list to the system? Well, we don't have a specific plans for downloading incoming invoices. I mean, at least as part of the localization package. If I understand correctly, your question is about electronic invoices. So we don't have specific plans for this, but this can be considered for future enhancements of the solution. We have a number of features available for other countries that deal with incoming vendor invoices or incoming customer credit notes or whatever. We have the possibilities to import such electronic invoices through our electronic invoicing service. So we have the framework in place for this. Specifically for Turkey, we will look at this. For now, as I said, no specific plan, but this may be added in future releases. All right, and the next question is, will it be possible to use the D365 system standard in invoice number generation instead of using the TR localization method? Yeah, so I think that this question was asked before by someone else. So again, for now, we don't have a possibility to use the standard invoice numbering in a company in Turkey when the feature for Turkish localization is enabled. So if you enable the Turkish localization in your company, then you're not able to use the standard invoice numbering. But we are considering either providing like extensibility points in order to be able to disable the Turkish specific feature and use the generic one, or even some settings or toggles to be able to switch between like a standard invoice numbering feature and the Turkey specific one. So we don't have a exact answer for now, right? But we are considering doing this. This is in our backlog. This may not be available by the general availability date, but may be available in future releases. All right, we are out of time. Our time is over, so I'd like to finalize the meeting. Thanks everyone for participating, and we hope to see you in future events. Thank you very much.